Good afternoon, guys and girls. Just down here by the river, nice and peaceful this afternoon. Tuesday afternoon, a little bit different to last Friday when we had the flash flood and the digger got washed into the river. So everything's quiet and peaceful down here this afternoon. Just me and the birds. All rather nice. And I was just showing you the erosion here. This was in that flash flood. It's really taken away quite a bit of the bank here. You can see the old tree roots and the base of the tree that got cut off. All been exposed. So there's part of an old engine block sitting there on the roots. I mean, that must have been buried in the soil and sitting on top of that root. Can you see that down there? You just see the valve springs in the valve sticking up in it. So it's top of an old engine block. Anyway, guys, we're down here, right down the bottom. So these are all oranges down here. This is very productive land down here because it's so close to the river. So very good growing area. This is our electricity coming in. The line coming in, the main line coming into the whole farm, used to be private, used to belong to us, but Endesa have just, the electricity company, have just bought it off us, in inverted commas. They didn't actually pay any money, they just took responsibility for it, so they're now responsible. It means they can charge us a little bit more money, but previously if anything went wrong with it we had to pay for it ourselves to put it right. It goes all the way up to the main road. Just the transformer and all the meters there for the farm and the houses and everything else. And then this is I'm just down here just sorting something out. In the storm we had a bit of a surge, electricity surge. I don't know whether that was caused by the main grid or whether that was caused by the storm itself. It was right over the house. You can see our house up there above the car. So that veranda you see with the arches is where we look out from. That's where the swallows are building their nest. And then this is our well house, but it's not really a well. It's a hole in the ground. So the whole of the underside of this, I can't really show you down there with this camera. Perhaps I can from here. You can just see the circular part of it there going down. So it's not so much a well really, it's a hole in the ground that sits below the water table of the river, so it's constantly full from the river. These pumps have just been refurbished by the pump company. They're Ideal pumps, and the pump company have just been here and refurbished all of these, ready for when they're needed. They're not really needed this time of year, but they're needed fairly soon, so, for irrigation. Both of these pumps will pump at 10 bar, so pretty powerful pumps. And then we've got two pumps down here, that above the ground pump there, and we've got a submersible pump which is down in the water itself, and that pumps our water up to the house. So we take water from the river for the house as well. And up at the house we've got a 6,000 litre deposit, so it fills up that 6,000 litre deposit and keeps that full all the time. So we just take our water from that 6,000 litre deposit. So we don't have to wait for it to pump up from down here or anything. It's pumped up to there and that on a switch, and then that's kept full. And I had a bit of an issue in here. You know, in our box when we had that surge, but I've sorted it all out now, so it's all working. And then we put in, excuse me, I'm just locking up. You can just see the end of it. The main feed for the water that goes all the way to the top of the hill, both of those pumps, as you can see here, the two steel tubes feed into one tube, so both of those pumps pump simultaneously if needed, one at a time or simultaneously if needed, to pump up to the top to fill the deposito, which is right up on top of the mountain. In a couple of the earlier videos I've taken you right the way up there onto the top. That's where I cycle up to and ride around on my interval training. That's right up on top of the hill. I mean, I can just see it from here, but you won't see it with this camera. And the pipe was steel that went all the way up to there, but it's just been replaced. Here you can see this, I'll call it plastic for want of a better word. It's been replaced with this tube which gets heat sealed together on the joints. So you have a machine that heat seals the joints together. So that's been put in place underground, in place of the old tube, all the way through, and then all the way up. Now halfway up the hill, because it got renewed from halfway up the hill before when the trees were taken out at the top. So it's all in this sort of thermoplastic now, all the way up with these heat sealed joints. So it's basically one pipe, where before it had all these flanges, these bolted flanges that you can see here, which of course each one of those was a potential leak, a potential position for the gasket to perish, but now it's all in one piece all the way up, so much better. Alright guys, well I'll jump in the car and I will show you the other way. Oh, while I'm here, this is that I was talking to you guys the other day about this Sahara dust which we get. It's sand from the Sahara Desert, and it comes over, and then when it rains here it gets dropped. So you can see the build up of it in the corner of my windscreen there. So it's happened 3 times now. We've had 3 rainstorms, and each time it's dropped this Sahara sand down. So this is what I was talking about the other day. You can see it on the roof. So everything gets covered in this sand, comes over from Morocco on the westerly wind. Particularly this time of year we get it, and so you get the most unusual light when it rains. It brings the sand down out of the clouds, and you get this incredible yellow light. It's very, very strange until you get used to it. It's quite unusual. Alright guys, I'm going to drive up the track and I will show you the other bits and pieces we've been doing. Speak to you soon. So this is up at the workshop for the farm, and this is what I was doing with the digger yesterday. Had a day using the digger yesterday, getting it all up and running properly again after it had been in the river. So just dug this out, take the bank away. We're going to put a retaining wall in here, in this trench, to give us an area where lorries can back up. So they'll come up from where my car is, come up to here, and there'll be a retaining wall, and then they can be unloaded directly off instead of having to mess around at the moment handballing out the back of lorries. And then a retaining wall along here just to make a proper path. And then this area here, I've already flattened it out quite a bit, but this soil and rock will all go back in behind the wall, and we'll flatten this out so lorries have got a turning area and different things. Here you can see all the old pipe. I was just mentioning to you about the pipe that came out the ground. This is the old pipe with all the flanges and the joints and everything else. So this is what you can see. Some of it was starting to get in a bad state. Unfortunately, it's best off. I think most of this actually is what was above ground. As soon as you start burying it and you put concrete around it or anything like that, it starts to deteriorate quite quickly. So I don't know what we'll do with this, whether it will go for scrap or whether it can be reused by somebody. I'd rather it was reused, really. Must have a value with those flanges on, rather than just sending it for scrap. I mean, see, I'll see if we can find someone who's looking for something like that. Might be an economical way for them to upgrade or repair what they have. So yeah, this was part of yesterday's job. Just digging away this bank, levelling this out, and just left a flat area for the concrete truck to come in once the guys have dug out here by hand and finished the base for the foundation. Get the concrete in, and then we'll they've got to chop this away, the edge of the foundation here, chop that away by hand, get rid of part of that, and then we'll have a retaining wall here which allows the lorries to back up and unload. Okay guys, I'll take you up a little bit closer to the house and show you the end, not the total end result, but pretty much the end result of our pipe work, which you saw in that other video, my Easter weekend work that I did with the bigger pipes. So I'll take you up and show you that. So guys, here's the access track. We've got the new pipe in here underneath. So you can see there, much bigger diameter pipe. Following the line of the river than the old pipe, which just sort of almost went back on itself. And we've just got the river stone in here compacting down, just compacting naturally as we drive over it. See here we've got a much bigger entrance into the pipe now with this size of pipe compared to what we had before. And what we had before was like a 600mm pipe. This is pretty much a 1 metre pipe. So still got a bit of finishing off down in the bottom here to do, tidying up. Got to just tidy these rocks up and make a little buffer so that when the water comes down it doesn't erode away that bank underneath the lemon tree there. So we'll build that up with some rocks and tidy this up, and then as this gets pushed down with the farm machinery and everything driving over the top of it, gradually just keep giving it a skim. As you can see, we've got a much better access now, much better roadway across. We were down to about 2 meters before, and it was a real dip as well. If you go back to that video where I take you guys down to the river the day it was really raining, you'll see the water was coming down here. You'll see what it was like. It was a real dip. You could come through with 4x4s without any problem, but a normal car used to touch the skirt of the front of the car down because it was such a little dip. So yeah, we've resolved all of that, put the new pipe in, giving ourselves a much better access up to the house and up for the farm as well, of course. So it looks a little bit scruffy at the moment, but there's no point fiddling around with it until it gets really packed down by everything. So guys are driving all over it with the tractors all the time. It'll get pushed down, and in a week's time I'll come and give it another scrape and tidy up in the stream itself there. So predicted rains didn't arrive this afternoon or today. We had a little shower, but nothing more than that. I did my FTP test earlier on today, and I will do another little video about that. Quite strange to feel like you haven't actually done anything. Ordinarily, to get that kind of feeling in my legs, I'd have been out for like 3 hours on the bike. But you kind of have a shower and go and sit down and forget you did it, and then we go to stand up and you remember you did do it. So yeah, it's quite taxing, but I'll do another video on that and explain all about that FTP test and what it's all about. Alright guys, so I hope you're having a good day and a good afternoon, and I hope that's shown you a little bit of what's been going on here over the last week or so, with things getting tidied up a little bit, ready for this year. It's always good for us to work on anything while the soil's soft if we've had rain, because once it gets baked, it's like rock. It's so hard to deal with. So it's a good time of year to get everything done. If you need to do any excavation or any movement of earth, it's a good time of year to get that out of the way. Alright guys, take care, speak to you soon, bye for now.